Hey everybody, it's Rothbard's Disciple here. I'm bringing you guys another video on creating Bitcoin apps. I want to show you guys specifically how um, these applications would work and the companies that you would target in order to use these applications. This is something that I tried to get. I talked to Craig Wright, Jimmy Song, and James Belding about this a while ago. I didn't really talk to Jimmy about it too much, but these are things that we could have had months ago, but they put the brakes on. Again, if you look at it, the blocks that we're getting, we're not really getting used at all. It's sort of a joke. So these are sort of important because again, we could add these things months ago, and everything I'm going to show you, again, I'm not much of a developer whatsoever. I'm going to use one of the applications that I built. I'm going to use two of them to show you a couple things actually, or actually, I don't even have to use any of them or I have to use one of the applications I built. But when you guys want to test this out for yourself, everything's already you're going to be using pre-built apps, so you don't need to build any apps yourself, but I'm going to show you how you guys would actually use something like Google Drive and use Bitcoin so that when you create digital files and whatnot, you can work with people from all over the world. Again, we're going back to this. I always said it was a board game here that I have all these characters for. But if you look at how complex this thing is, it would actually work much better as a video game. And I've had a lot of video game developers talk to me and talk about things that they're trying to work on for the Bitcoin SV blockchain. And they always say things like, oh, you can play video games, but you can get paid money to play video games. And like that makes absolutely no sense. Oh, we're going to pay people to play our video game, and somehow that makes Bitcoin take off. That I don't know. It's a dumb concept from the get-go. What Bitcoin's useful again is for intellectual property extraction. Because if you look at something like Google Drive is used by a lot of businesses so that you can use, or people that are not in the same area can access the same files. The issue with Google Drive is you only want people with the right permissions to access the file. And what Bitcoin allows you to do is it allows you to give permission to people to whom you have no direct relationship to. And the reason why this is important is because, again, Google Drive can only be used within companies right now. But if you use a token system to manage permissions for something like Google Drive, then instead of just using Google Drive for internal use within companies, these companies can now have anybody in the world work on their projects if they so choose. Obviously, this isn't something that absolutely everyone would want, but it's something a lot of people would want. And so I'm going to put these links um, in the information of this video, but if you go to these links, you'll actually be able to open up these files. Again, if you looked at my original files, they're Word files. This one's actually an open document one. You want the Word file, so the Word file will look the same. It's just saved as a different type. But anyways, um, if you go to each one of these links, you'll see different files that we have here. They're all in alphabetical order, so this will be the last one, the Zaraza. As you can see over here in this file, the Zaraza is the last one. But as you can see, these are all .gpg files, which means I used GPG for Win, and specifically the Kleopatra application within it in order to encrypt these. And the cool thing about this is that they're encrypted using a password, so all of you guys can actually decrypt this stuff yourself, so long as it worked right. I can't, I'm going to have somebody actually try this out to see if you can decrypt the file yourself. But once you decrypt the file, and if you hash it, again, Microsoft has a free tool called Hash Tool that will allow you to hash these things or these files once you're done, and you can see whether or not your hash comes out to be the same as the hash that I get, so that you can see that you can share files and keep the integrity of files across computers. And so again, this is really important. So if you go to each one of these links that I had provided here, each one of these links, download the GPG file, what you'll end up with is this right here. So we're going to decrypt this. Just so you guys know, when you're decrypting things within Cleopatra can get a little bit wonky sometimes, especially if you've been using it a lot, but you should be asked for a password. Because I've already entered the password, it remembers the password for me. This is the password right here: Infinity Hivemind, capital I, capital H, with a space in there. Okay, and so that's how you open. This is how you open all of these. So we go in here, save all of these. I did sign these. I don't think signing them means that you can't open it. If it does, you guys will have to let me know. And again, this one has just saved all the passwords for me just because I've been typing in the password and using Kleopatra. That's just the way Kleopatra works. Okay. Let me see to make sure that we got all of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got all of these right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy these real quick. Move them into the Drive Documents folder. As you can see, I've been doing this already before today. I'm going to replace these files. Now the reason why I want to do this is just to show you guys that when you open this stuff up, and you hash it, these are the hashes that you get. Now it's sort of, I don't want to have to delete all this stuff here, so I'm going to actually use, because all I need right now is the hashes. Obviously if you looked at these hashes are to show you the integrity of the file. I'm going to go over here, and this is just a program I wrote where it goes into the file or the location of the file. This is the right here, you know, if I copy this address, which is the location where I have the decrypted files, copy that location, paste it there. Obviously I already had it there, so that didn't change anything, but hit F5, run this. And the only reason why I wanted to do this is because we're going to actually take this and we're going to turn it into a Merkle tree. Now the way that we're going to do this, again, if we go back to my coding folder, if you guys remember, my tweet file was if I wanted to store a bunch of tweets and then hash them, the way that I did this is right here. Again, normally if you don't want to mess with the files that store your data, but this is just for tests for me. So I'm going to go ahead and save this here, and then open up my GUI trial, display my tweets. It's right here. The one thing, oh, this is actually good. Okay, so the one thing you got to remember here, guys. So again, when I'm creating my Merkle root, I already have these things hashed, and it says display the unhashed leaves. So when I'm creating my Merkle root here, it's actually going to hash these first hashes again. So this isn't actually the way you would want it in a final in the final copy, or that's not the way you would want it to be done at the end. But if I go ahead and run this, this is the final Merkle root hash that I would get. Now I'll just go ahead and open, well, I can't really open it up, but what you would do with this Merkle hash, again, since all of these documents that I have, each one of these documents from this drive, they're all of the same type of document for the same project. The contract for finishing these, each one of these characters and turning it into a video game would be the same. Okay, so I would go ahead and I would take this right here, this hash right here, and hash this hash with a contract. Okay, and whatever it is. So if I'm going to go in here, press Control V, and then I would have the hash of some contract, and I would hash that together. It doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to add a couple numbers here, and those numbers just represent the hash of the contract that we're pretending exists. And I don't want to run through all this because this would make this video take too long, and you'd end up with a final hash which would look something like this. Okay, so when you have this final hash, you use this final hash when you're creating a token. Okay, so when you create tokens using the tokenized system that James Belding has, I would create a token with a contract file hash that would be equivalent to this. Now this contract file hash includes the data and a contract that governs how that data can be used. So it includes all the data necessary for people to collaborate on my project, because it would say, hey, for these files specifically, if you want to work on these files and actually have some sort of property interest in this so that you can gain ownership of it by doing work for these files and finishing the work. Because again, obviously, if you look at these files, this is not a video game, it's a Word document. It contains a lot of information. about how to create these characters for the video game, so somebody could actually code this stuff. And maybe my contract says something like, if you finish this, I'll give you like 80% ownership of the project, but I retain 20%, because obviously creating a video game is much harder than just writing this shit out. But if you have already a framework to work within, this makes the job of the person creating the video game so much simpler. Okay, it makes it so much simpler. Okay, and so then you would have, again, you would use this, which would be your contract hash, which not only includes the data there, but the contract governing how you can gain ownership of the data and for what work. And then if I wanted to give people permission to view these Google Drive documents, again, right now, Google Drive documents are open for everybody to see. That's not what I want, because there's no way for me, like someone could actually try and steal this from me at this point. But I don't know, it'd be hard to do, so I'm not that worried about it. But what I really want is I want it such that in order to view these Google Drive files and in order to download them, you would need to have the token that has the contract hash here, okay? And so you can do this on the blockchain, and it's very easy to look up somebody's balances and to see whether or not they have this token. And again, it only costs a fraction of a cent to send this token to somebody, okay? So if it costs a fraction of a cent to send this token to somebody, that's basically nothing, you know what I mean? And so it's so cheap and it's so easy to do this. And then afterwards, if you're using this token system, again, Google Drive already exists. Okay, so then all Google Drive has to do is say, hey, look, if you want to have access to download the files that are at this location, instead of, again, right now, anyone can access these files, it would just look up, you would have to log into your Google Drive account, and you would have to say, or you'd have to see, okay, does the addresses associated with his Google Drive account have the token required in order to download this? If they have the token, then they can download it. If they don't have the token, they can't download it. Okay, and so I can set whatever requirements up I would want in order for me to send this token to somebody, but this whole entire process would then be automated. Okay, and again, right now, Google Drive only works for companies to share products or, projects that they're working on within their own company. You can't share it with outsiders because they can steal all your stuff. But if you put this on the blockchain and then an outsider works on your stuff and tries to steal it, you just go back to the blockchain and you say, hey, look, I sent this person a token at this point in time. So, it's pretty obvious that they're stealing from me because this is where they got the inspiration, this is where they got the idea. Like, I have it on the blockchain that they got this file from me. Okay, you have it on the blockchain. Okay, and it's so simple, it's so easy to do. And again, this is something that I pushed to Craig Wright, James Belding, the people at NChain months ago, but they said, or they just sort of turned away from it. And look at the transactions that we're having. It's completely dog shit, guys. Completely dog shit. How many people do you guys think use things like Google Drive or Microsoft's OneDrive? Do you think it's thousands and thousands of people? Okay, it's thousands and thousands of people. It's technically speaking, it's tens of millions of people at least, if not hundreds of millions of people. And that could be who we're trying to get on board. And again, if you try to onboard these people, because what's his face, the guy behind yours, Ryan Charles, he keeps talking about the onboarding problem. Well, imagine if Google Drive did this in the background and people didn't even know about it. Maybe Google Drive just adds in a couple ads to pay for the transaction fees for things like this, but it's so simple and easy to do. Okay, it's so cheap for everybody, and we can do it today. Again, all these tools already exist. It's not like the only thing that doesn't necessarily exist is using something to create a Merkle tree, and that's easy as pie. Again, I haven't shown you guys all the way through on how to create that Merkle tree, and I'll get that going, but I got a bunch of things on my plate right now. This stuff's so easy, guys. Instead of talking about, oh, we need to give people free Bitcoin, like Ryan Charles says on yours, like we were going to give them 10 bucks of free Bitcoin. Quit doing that. You're going to bankrupt yourselves, you fucking idiots. Just give people these near free uses of Bitcoin that are high volume, okay? That's what we need. We need volume. And again, absolutely everything already exists in order to do these things. We just have to combine the applications that already exist. And these companies would be more than willing to do it because it's not an extra cost. It's barely any cost for Microsoft to, put a wallet into their, or Microsoft or Google to put wallets into their, Google OneDrive or Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive, okay? It takes no effort for them to do this. Okay? These things already exist, takes no effort for them to do it, and they already have the customer base. So I don't know what we're doing, and I don't know why we're doing it. So again, this is, like, hopefully some people can understand the idea here. I know the people who should watch this probably won't, because they're all a bunch of little bitches, to be honest, but it just is what it is, and this is the word we need to get out, and this is why I'm very convinced that Bitcoin SV will die, and I'm very convinced that I'm going to be the one to kill it, because people are not heeding my warnings about what needs to be done in order to save it, and, you know, we're all just hoping that Craig Wright and Calvin Ayre can mine this thing away forever, and they can't. We need transaction volume. You know, Craig Wright's even said we need thousands of transactions per second within like a year. He's overestimating that, but we're not getting anywhere near that, okay? And we very easily could. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There will be more coming out soon.